Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special edition of the Triple B Black and Gold Dynasty Saturday edition. I am very, very sorry. I've been sick with the flu all week, and this is the first day that I feel alive. And it's hit our house not too good this week, but we're going to try to strive to keep things going. And we are going to talk about the Steelers and the Cleveland Browns game from this past Sunday, which was Steelers 1. But before I do that, I want to bring in a special guest to the show. He has his own podcast. They do the Steelers talk every week for many, many years. Huge Steeler fan, good friend of the show, good friend of mine, JT from Steelers Realm Podcast. Welcome to the show, brother. Thank you very
Bubba.
much.
Thanks for having us, man. Us
thank
being
you.
Steelers Realm, but boys are kind of out scattered today, a little bit different for us. I know we're usually weekday evenings as well too, Thursdays, Mondays, pre and post game, and then if we get a chance and everybody's feeling well, sometimes we'll jump on that off the rails that freight train started.
Yes,
So,
I've jumped on there once or twice and got real animated.
We got a few of those in, but yeah, certainly this was a year of animation after watching the Steelers games. Certainly. So yeah, I'd love to kind of get into it with you.
Let me ask you a bit. Let me ask you one thing. How do you feel after this 2022 season?
I feel cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
That's pretty much straight up. I feel I feel we started to make some progress. Obviously, the second half after the bye was a tale of two seasons. And the second part, I thought they took the reins off slightly. And I ended up thinking that they managed Kenny Pickett pretty well considering everything. The beginning of the year, I was pretty much a sit Kenny the first year guy. I'll admit it. And, I'm looking back. I was thinking about this before we got on this today. And I think they did the right thing, even though a lot of people didn't think so initially, including a former Steeler coach. But yeah, I think they threw him into the fire. The kid was mature enough to respond without hurting his comments or confidence, rather. And yeah, I feel, like I said, cautiously optimistic. I think what we do in the offseason could go a long way for getting us back to the playoffs next year, and I don't think that's too soon. So, kind of my thoughts in a nutshell, Bubba.
I kind of agree with you, JT, but I don't feel saddened like I felt last year when Ben retired, and I felt that sad void of what the Steelers were going to do. This year, it's not a sad void. I wasn't sad. I was a little unhappy when the Jets didn't help us out, and I don't like to have anybody help us out anyway, as we'll talk about that here throughout the show.
Right.
I don't feel angry. I feel a lot of positive stuff that's going to happen in the offseason, like you said, that can transpire into training camp. We have a couple pieces of the puzzle that are missing. And we need those ingredients to actually get to the Steelers' success of old, where we were the intimidating factor when we went into different cities in the United States and played, where we're not that. I mean, we have a lot of fan base all over the world, which is great. But that sense of Steeler football, when the Steelers are coming to town, you got to gear down and bear down because you're into a fight. That I haven't seen that, and I want to see that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not this year. It was typically teams brought their A game. It was their Super Bowl when they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and quite frankly, it wasn't even close to that this year. And but like you said, I mean, there was a void last year at the end of the year and a sadness of probably just the unknown of where we're heading from next year with this new quarterback. How's it going to play out? You know, when we had Bill Hillgrove on earlier at the beginning of the season, before the season started, he was very optimistic that the team as it was going to surprise a few people. And I think eventually maybe they did. Early on, I think we were a little bit, most of us,
We're shell shocked. I was shell shocked the first part of the season. like
Yeah,
nothing
we
else.
were. I think we were disappointed. I
Yeah.
think we were going to come out and be more competitive than we were. So I think at some point in time, we all had to readjust our sights a little bit and say, let's face it. I think I came out and said nobody had talked about it to that point, but said, let's face it, this is a rebuilding team. You know, you
You
rebuild.
did say that. You
Yeah,
did say that. Yes.
and you know, everybody they kind of wanted to avoid that terminology, but
You're
let's
a
face it.
minority though when you were
Yeah,
saying it though. A lot of people weren't saying that on the
true.
mega casts and are your shows and my shows. I didn't think it was whatever. I just thought it was going to get a little bit to get to the playoffs,
Yeah, and
but
getting
we had
back
to
to your
rebuild.
the point you were making there is that, you know, Steelers typically had always had their core, and they always through the draft would enhance that core with the backups and the next guy up type of situation. And rarely did you see them drafting for need, unless there was one particular place where, hey, we got a guy in there, a starter now, but maybe this would be some competition. So, you know, I think last year, you know, when we went out and picked up some free agents to kind of fill some of that need void, uh, I think they got themselves in a position coming into this year's draft to be able to kind of get back to the old Steeler way, and that's, you know, draft for depth and for talent. You know,
Yeah.
we used to get, okay, well, we need this, we need this, we need this, but this guy's on
Right.
the board and he's the best athlete on the board right now, so we're going to get him.
Yeah.
We're going to find a way to use him.
And
So
there's a couple spots that we need to fill, and hopefully we can.
yes, I
You know.
agree.
But Brian Yeager, thanks for tuning into the Triple B Black and Gold. And I love how he mentions the O line, like we talked about off camera, how that O line where we thought was going to be the minus point, thinking the skilled players are going to be all that, and the O line was just going to be the subpar part of the team. But this year they were not the subpar part of the team. They were the plus and the golden star of the team in my eyes and in a lot of people's eyes in Steeler Nation.
Yeah, the end of the season again, tale of two seasons. Early on, they were taking a lot of criticism, but like you said, Brian, yeah, they came together. We knew it was going to take some time. Really, we didn't want to admit it, but you know, we had a feeling this was going to take time for this O line to gel. Excuse me, and they did. And I think Najee got healthy. We see the emergence of Jalen Warren as a viable second running back.
Great 1-2 combination that they haven't
My
had in a long time.
my goodness, you know, both catch well out of the backfield too. Underutilized, no doubt, but still, good point. Yeah, a lot of things kind of came together.
And also, they had where was I going with? People were always first part of the season. I know Najee was hurt, and people were like, "Oh, he's a bust." And whatever, but I always liked Najee. I liked him when we drafted him, even though he was a first round pick, and people were down with that. I was not. I think we always needed a good back, and we do have a good back. We have a good back in the backfield, and we have a good back in the community. And I know he likes to make fun in that last game when he was being funny in the Raiders and stuff like that. But that's what we need. He's a big back. He's healthy at the last part of the season, and he was running all over people. And I'm glad, you know, and I'm going to get some stats later on Najee through the game of Cleveland and throughout the year. But Najee is a team captain and going forward, and he will get better and better, I believe, as long as he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to watch early on the season, and I think we all realized that this injury, this Liz Frank injury, wasn't just something a couple weeks in you're going to get into. Plus, he was rusty; he didn't have a good training camp in the preseason. It was out, so you know, a lot of that stuttering in the backfield before they hit the hole was a little frustrating to watch early on. I think that was a result of being tentative with that foot. But you saw that at the end of the year. You saw healthy Najee hitting the hole, fighting, pushing, driving for falling forward for 2-3 more yards.
Right.
That was the Najee Harris that we grew to expect that kind of performance out of in year one in his rookie year.
Yeah.
And you know, it's too bad he had to battle that year. I think he would have had a much greater season. and we might have had a few more wins and might be still playing too. If
We just needed one. We
yeah,
just needed one.
just
If we
one.
would have been 3-1 in the AFC East, we'd be in the playoffs. And
Right.
today we'd be getting ready for a wild card against the Buffalo
Yeah,
Bills.
yeah,
But hey, look, if it coulda, woulda. But I do believe I wanted to see the Steelers get into the playoffs to get Kenny Pickett, Pickens, and these younger guys, Connor Hayward, experience
experience,
in a
right?
playoff atmosphere. You know, the bright lights in the big city. See how his moxie and his determination can make him more experienced because now he's got some experience. Now we don't have that void of quarterback from Ben to whoever. It's
Right.
there now. We have it with Kenny Pickett. I know in the draft I was apprehensive because I wanted a nose tackle, which I still do. But now that part of having a quarterback, we're gonna have some backups because the backups we have aren't going to be around. I don't think when we later on here in a couple months, but that's here or there. But let's get into like the Steelers now. This game against Cleveland was still a lot riding, even though we didn't get into the playoffs. It was all about Mike Tomlin's, winning streak.
Winning season, right?
How do you concur and how it's a great streak. It's great and people, thrive on it. But for me, I'm all about the championships and hopefully they come. I hope he's never leaving. He still rallied the troops around to get, a winning record based on what happened in the first 6 weeks of this season, which was catastrophic. The losing of TJ Watt for, 7 games was no one seen that coming. And the quarterback debacle in the Jets stuff, no one seen that coming either. He cracked under peer pressure and he put Kenny in. That's my opinion. But it was a winning streak nonetheless, 16 years.
Yes, it was. And my stance on Tomlin has always been kind of neither nor, neither a huge fan nor or a non fan, I guess. Couldn't think of a word there, but I just wanted to see him win. I want to see us go to championships. That's what he says. Our business is winning, and let's do that. I was glad to see them win in this game for 2 reasons. The one reason was to get some pride back after getting their ass kicked earlier, and then the playoff game last year. It was good to turn about on the Browns, even with Deshaun Watson. Interesting turn there too. But the second thing about it is the win was also kind of a consolation for the year for Tomlin to retain that record. I think the players wanted to win for that too, to keep that streak alive.
Yeah, I believe they did not want to lose. They did not want to be the first team under Tomlin to give him a losing record. They did not want that. I didn't want that. I didn't want that either. I don't want that.
No, we don't want that either.
No.
Are we satisfied with that? No.
No.
I'm not satisfied with the number of playoff appearances and the number of playoff losses. I'm not satisfied with that at all. So we definitely, if that's our business, then we got to get back to work again next year. But I think we're seeing that we're not far off in that. So that was kind of my take on Tomlin and the wrap up of. I was good to see. It was great to see them win. It was good to see the fans engaged the whole way till the last 2 minutes.
Very last minute of the game. I was like, I had 2 TVs going.
Yeah, that was kind of.
Yeah, you can't base your hopes into the New York Jets and Joe Flacco.
No, and you can't rely on other people to back into the playoffs either.
That's why you have to do your business and get it done.
That's
and realistically, the last 9 games, we only lost. The last 2 losses were under 5 points.
Yeah,
that could have been something. And we are competitive against Cincinnati all season. Look what we did to Baltimore in that second rematch game. Like Tomlin's streak is he's tied for 3rd with George Halas in his 16-year winning streak, which is unparalleled in any type of franchise football or any type of sports at all. You don't do that. And I'll give to where accolades and stuff to Tomlin do that. That is what he's good at. He's good maybe at rah-rahing, but the thing is, though, to me, he needs a couple generals on the field that are strong too, and he can be the 4-star general and lead other people. He needs to get other people under him that are just as good as he is. Maybe he needs to let up a little bit and diversify his coaching into other coaches that could be the keys to Steelers winning. That's just some of the coaches are so bland and don't like Matt Canada, but he's not going anywhere. But also
Yeah, doesn't
too,
look like it.
no. But Austin, Terrell Austin had a great, second coming in the second half. Flores is looking to go someplace else here very soon. He's a hot commodity, and I wish him the best.
Yeah.
Because he's not. I knew he wasn't going to stay because that's just how it is. But Mike Tomlin, as a coach, can get the best out of his players, and he dealt with the tragedy of Dwayne Haskins passing away. He got his team to 9-8 with a rookie quarterback, with all the controversy and losing TJ Watt. So I don't think he's going to get coach of the year, but I guess he's going to be in the strong candidate for it. But I don't think he's going to get it. If he got to the playoffs, maybe. I don't know how that voting goes, but I'll give due credit where credit is due. But Tomlin needs to, some plays he needs to pay a little bit more attention with time management, maybe calling a red flag when he needs to, but he needs to get coaches under him that understand, that can mature and grow, not be a small tree in a field. You know what I mean?
Well, it'll be interesting in this offseason to see how that plays out too. I can remember I did some comparisons looking back over the years. And back, not a lot of our listeners are going to remember these days, but back in the Chuck Noll days, they had a kind of a rough season. I don't remember the year. It was towards the end, but
well, it was the year. The year is probably 1988. Is that the year that we got beat 55-0 by Cleveland, 49-0 by Cincinnati, and yes. Chuck Noll. Yes, that was my senior year in high school, and Chuck Noll like I always say this because I always remember on the back of Merrill Hodge going down to Houston and upsetting the Houston Oilers 2017, and going to Denver and was a Tim Worley fumble away going to the AFC Championship game. So that team was tenacity at its finest in the Pittsburgh Steelers history, in the lore of Steeler history. That and the 76 loss to the Raiders, where Jack Lambert said if they had a case of beer, they go back, and they lost Franco and they didn't have Blyer. They didn't have the running game. If they'd had the running game, we'd have had 5 championships before anybody else.
Well, one of those seasons, and I'm not sure if that's the year.
Okay, maybe.
But the Rooney's actually forced him to kind of retool and go back to the drawing board with coaches.
Okay.
So, I don't have the year to back that up, but I remember reading about that, and it was like, is that the situation we're in now? Do we need to kind of, do we need to go through that again? I know there's so many people out there about the offensive coordinator, but you did notice, and I even got a text from Randy Fuller, Bubba. Randy said that, the Steelers kind of saved Canada's job this year towards the end of the season.
They did.
And I have to agree with them on that. I really do think they did.
I knew that. And I knew that was going to happen. I just knew it. They're not going to, as much as it pains for a lot of Steeler fans, including myself, not scoring. We're not going to score 28, 35 points a game. You know what I mean? But I like to score 23 average. I would like to get some scores, just touchdowns. But some of these play calling plays that Matt does, it was not good at all this year.
And it since came out, Bubba, that they did go conservative for quite a bit. Now, whether that's just to kind of cover their ass or it was really what the whole situation was. I mean, it was obvious. It was pretty vanilla and pretty basic as far as the offense goes.
Right.
Was that by design, or was that, what we were getting from Canada at the time? And of course, it yielded quite a lot of negative comments through it.
It's going to be negative, but also too, they got back to basics, as we're going to talk about here shortly. ball controlling, and
Yeah.
and the skilled players weren't the positions weren't as skilled as I thought they would be. There's room to grow, and we do have a stud. Number that's Pickens is a stud.
14.
So we need to just keep feeding him, keep feeding him. But anyway, they were 7-2 in the last 9 games. Okay, since the Steelers ended 9-8, they were 3-3 in the AFC North for third place, which I don't like it. You don't like it. None
No,
of the Steeler fans like that.
no.
But they had problems a lot with the AFC this year, which to me is not what I want to see. And the Miami game, the Jets game, of course, the Patriots game. The first Cleveland game when Jacoby Brissett was like an all-pro.
We made him look good.
Yeah.
We made
So
several quarterbacks look good there.
yeah, we were great. I think we were great against the NFC, except for Philly. Yeah. But the 2 games, Buffalo and Philly. I mean, look where they're at now. But we're on the cusp of where we I know I took them 12-5. It didn't happen, and I understand that. But the Steelers, they played against Cleveland, and that Cleveland game was a big game this past Sunday.
It was.
And it was something that everybody was into it, and it's the hated. I mean, Cleveland, when they beat us in the playoffs, they reawoke that hatred for the Cleveland Browns, and they beat us handily in that playoff game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with, Kenny Pickett was 13 out of 29 for 195 yards and a touchdown. It was conservative, but also, too, he was around for his life because Myles Garrett was in Dan Moore's face all day and was not good. It wasn't good. Dan Moore didn't have a good game like he had last year on Ben's last game as he had this past game. He was just not doing what he needed to do. But the Steelers ran for 148 yards, which was phenomenal.
Yes.
And the Steelers running offense was a godsend in the last 9 games of the season, which was great. And Najee, yeah. Najee had 23 attempts, 84 yards, a touchdown. He had 1 reception for 10. And Jaylen Warren had 6 rushes, 36 yards. And he only had 7 yards receptions. But I like him coming out of the backfield. I like him with the change of pace with Najee. But Najee was running hard those last 9 games, and he got over 1,000 yards, which I wanted to see him get that.
Yes.
He didn't get the second 100-yard game. I mean, he'd averaged maybe 50 some yards a game there in the 17-game season.
Right.
But still, he still got 1,000 yards. Now, the Steven Sims character, what's your take on Mr. Steven Sims?
I don't know, man. He's exciting. I'd like to see him get the ball in his hands more, to be honest with you.
I like to see him do a little better in returns, a little bit better.
True. Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you see that potential there. So, yeah, a little tweak.
Yeah, he had
Joe
one carry
work on that in the offseason.
Bill, do you think Bazooka Joe will still be around?
I don't know.
Our return team's not good, but everybody likes him though. Tomlin likes him, and I don't think Tomlin's going to get rid of anybody. I think they're going to add coaches if coaches like Flores leaves. I don't think they're getting rid. And Pat Meyer, the offensive line coach, is probably, to me, the assistant coach that Tomlin should probably kiss his ass and kiss him on both sides of the cheek.
Yeah,
that was a big. I mean, he did very, very well, which I didn't think he would. And he proved me wrong, so I had to eat crow. And I'll eat crow if need be.
Well, early on, we were calling for Munchak to come back.
I wanted him back, but I don't think we need him back now. I think we're okay in that part.
TA even gave him some accolades, too, kind of an unsung hero for the year.
Best assistant that he had in a long time.
Yeah.
Better than Matt Canada. Sorry, I'm sorry. It's going to be a long – it's never going to – I mean, unless Canada – can get the Steelers, Kenny Pickett, throwing 25 touchdowns and 3,500 yards and still running the ball. Because actually, Pickens was targeted 6 times. He had 7 receptions for 72 yards and that huge touchdown. So and I get back to Sims. Sims had that one run for 16.
Right.
So they're using him in different plays, which but I think the defense knows some of it's coming if those other those players are in the offensive set.
Well, they do, but if
Gotta
they
stop them, I guess.
if they get caught sleeping, it's going to cost you 16. You know,
Mhm.
they've proven that. The right play at the right time, it's going to break that, no doubt too. Yeah, I just lost my thought on where we're heading, but yeah, I'm okay. The, I'm okay running the ball down their throat
I am
every
too.
single time. We're going to run it. I'm going to run it right through this hole, and you have to stop us.
Now let me ask you, because you like him running it down the throat. What about the short yardage with Derek Watt being a huge plus this year, which was immaculate, better than the last couple years? This is the second coming. I love a fullback anyway, but these plays he was probably 85% always to the T. He was always good.
Yeah, yeah, he was effective.
They need
It's
to
a
add
very
more of that.
expensive chess piece.
Well, they need to use
Use
more of that in the
sparingly.
red zone. They need more of the red zone.
Yeah.
We're terrible in the red zone. Hey, look, this ain't going to be a rainbow, the whole show of rainbows. But we're terrible in the red zone where we used to not be that bad. And I do like Derek Watt. He's earning a little bit more of his money than he is on special teams with his play at fullback and blocking. He's blocking, and he scored some touchdowns this year, and I'm okay with that.
And I think somebody else too that deserves a good mention that's been coming on, and I think can be utilized extremely well in the coming years too, is Connor Hayward.
Yes, I was going to get to him. Yes, an adequate part, a bigger part than what we thought. Maybe Dennis Gentry is not going to be good. As a good blocker. But
Well, they like him
Hayward
in
is,
blocking. He's big and he takes up a lot of space. He takes up a couple, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And then
But
strip him
Hayward
out
catches.
every once in a while. You know, that's okay.
Connor catches some good passes. He had 3 receptions for 45 yards, and he had a key catch a couple weeks ago. He had
Third
some
and
great
long.
keys. Yes. So, and now this guy here, when we get to talking to him, is Mr. Dante, no Twitter, me Twitter, everybody Twitter, Dante Johnson. He was targeted 10 times. He had 2 receptions for 38 yards. He had a 2-point conversion catch, but he had no touchdowns to end the season, which I've never seen that in my entire life.
That's
When you
bizarre.
signed a $36 million contract like that extension, and he's supposed to be the number 1 receiver.
And no touchdowns. How does that
Mm.
happen?
I don't know. I have no idea.
That's another one of those stats that you don't want to hang your hat on.
No. And another guy who I truly love, because I always like the tight end position, is Pat Freiermuth. Had no catches, and then he got no catches because I think he was cracking down on Myles Garrett, but he also got hurt in the fourth quarter, and it was like ligament damage, but it wasn't like surgery. He doesn't need surgery from what I heard. Did you hear anything else about that?
No, just MCL sprain, didn't require surgery, so just
That's good.
off-season rehab.
He's an integral part of our offense.
He really
And
is.
when I get to some like seasons that stats that he have, like there's been a couple games where he hasn't even got the goddamn ball. Like that's just not what I want to see. Now I don't know if he has to check down and help down the tackle, but you have a great component of this tight end, and you need to put him in. He's probably one of the top 5 tight ends in the league in my mind, even though I'm showing favoritism because he's a Steeler. But he could do so much more. I just don't
really
get
could.
it.
Really could. I'd like to see him, at times some of those DBs covered him very well, and he wasn't able to get that big body screening out his defender enough at times. But, I think we'll see that develop more. Getting back to the running game, it's the key to that, in my opinion, is if you think about the last time we played the Browns and they just kept running down our throat, it wears teams out, it wears them down, and it deflates them. They just can't stop it. And the later on it goes into the game, the harder it is to continue to contain that. And that's what we used to do. Remember that saying, take the air out of the football?
Right.
hey, I'm fine getting back to that and it's
I am
boring
too.
football, but hey, grind it out, man. Grind it out as much as you can. And then that's where the surprise. That's when Kenny Pickett goes 38 yards to Pickens for a
Yeah,
touchdown.
I'm okay with that. But I didn't know we had I didn't know you were Randy Finkner on the show. I guess Freight Train. Welcome, Freight Train, to the Triple B Black and Gold Dynasty show. How you doing?
Hey, man.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm okay with all that. Oh, okay. Ah, there you go. See, I
Hey.
got guests. I got guests all over on the Experience podcast shows. Yeah. Do you have a whistle?
Yeah, I got.
We got to get you a whistle.
Here.
You need to dress up like him for training camp.
Yeah,
People probably
definitely.
think you're a head coach. I'm telling you, they'll come around, sign autographs. Yeah, there you go.
It's my Feetner look. Yeah.
Oh,
By
there
the
you
way,
go.
Tomlin, I'm available.
Yeah, no jet sweeps. No jet sweeps. But let's get to some defense stuff. The Steelers defense come on like gangbusters, and they had 7 sacks. Now Highsmith had led the team in sacks with 2.5 sacks. Cam Hayward had 2 sacks. God bless him. At the end of the season, Cam Hayward was a man possessed. Talking, you know how typical guys talk, but I've seen some stuff where he's not retiring or anything like that. His last 5 games, 6 games revitalized him, I believe, but also too, when you lose that heartbreaker, getting into the playoffs, you win the game, but you lose. You win the game, but you lose. He wanted to get to the playoffs. I know he did. They all did.
Yeah.
And that hurts. Larry Obajobi had 1 sack, and TJ Watt in 10 games, he had a half a sack. And just having TJ in the lineup, like I told my fiance, because she's like, why do they pay him so much money? I'm like, because they have to, Tammy, because it's TJ Watt. And if he's not in the game, there's some kind of cosmic, mystical powers that we are not as good as we think we are without him. I don't understand how it goes, but that's just how it is.
It's something that had to do with the stars aligning.
Yeah.
So the lunar poles are off kilter.
And KZ had an interception. Levi Wallace had an interception. And like I said, the Steelers' injuries were Gunner and Freiermuth, and I don't see Gunner coming back as a Steeler. I think they're going to cut him. And I had high hopes for Gunner, and that just wasn't the case. I just don't know. Maybe people in New England just can't come to the Steelers and produce. I don't know. But let's get to the Browns' offensive stats. Watson, Mr. Massage Parlor himself, he was 19 for 29, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, but he rushed had 6 rushes for 44 yards. He was worrying me a little bit. He was starting to get his groove there in that third quarter going into the fourth.
Yeah. But, when I was watching that game, I was feeling that. We were actually in Greensburg down at the YMCA. The
Rec League.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Boy Wonder was playing the youth basketball league.
Oh, gotcha.
The Westmoreland League down there too. But, what I was able to see was that, they kind of lost my train of thought there again.
He's scary. He's very scary. Seeing him once every 4 years compared, now we're going to be seeing him twice a year is going to be very, very scary.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And you're watching that, and it's like, he just like Slash used to be, just elusive and
fast.
They're 16 yards down. There you go. And like,
they couldn't wrap him up. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
He's like Harry Houdini.
Let this go on,
No. I mean, they even like, he was like wrapped around him and he disappeared and he went and took 10 yards. And I'm like, holy shit, guys, just wrap up. And I'm like, my God, they can't catch him. He's like, he's got grease all over him or something.
Next year's going to be a force. And this whole division is going to be tough when you look at the quarterbacks.
Which defense of, out of the 4 will be able to contain these quarterbacks? And I know the Ravens just signed at Smith to $100 million, and he's a force. But what nucleus team do you? I'm taking the black and gold anyway. I think our defense with our secondary was very, very good with interceptions and takeaways. But I think that they have a certain way that they have to. They knock Burrows a little bit, but they can't knock him down. He comes back up. Yeah. Lamar Jackson, he doesn't play good against us, and I don't think Jackson will be around. And I'm hoping he don't. I'm hoping he doesn't want to play in Baltimore. He goes somewhere else. Now, with Watson coming in and doing what he did against us, it was starting to turn on later on in the game. We have to shut him down. We have to get pressure. I mean, we got 7 sacks, which was great. We always get like so many sacks against Cleveland.
Yeah,
It's unreal.
yeah.
And they even having a great line for running, but their pass protection sucks.
Well, and I think you can blame some of that on Watson too. You know what I mean? Trying to hold on to the ball too long. I think
Sure.
even the announcers kind of made a comment of that he was holding on to the ball a little bit too long. And but that's a testament to coverage downfield as well too. So I mean, if you don't have anybody to throw to, you got to hold the ball for a little bit longer, or throw it away, or take off. So I think once he's got some starts under his belt, and then going into the off season full, he's going to be a force.
Right.
And this is going to be a tough division, and we're going to have to be on it. If we're
Every game, we can't mess up like a couple games we did this year. Like we stopped Nick Chubbs. Chubbs had 12 rushes for 77 yards, so he didn't run over us like he did the first game. He had a five receptions, 45 yards, and had that touchdown reception. But he wasn't like, killing us like he did that first game. And Kareem Hunt was like he was in the Bermuda Triangle. He was never to be found, and I believe he's probably going to be gone anyway. And he wasn't any type of an asset for Cleveland. And Cooper had 2 receptions for 51 yards. Their tight end, David Dinoki, 4 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown. So the tight end,
he's scary though.
Yeah, he's hurt him both games doing something. He had 90-some yards last game, 40-some yards and a touchdown. But also too, our defense can't cover tight ends, and I don't think we ever will in the next couple years. And the only thing that I saw negative was like the Dan Moore play against Myles Garrett. He had 1 sack. And like I said, he made Dan Moore's life a living hell that Sunday. And Dan Moore, I think, is the weak link in our offensive line. And I know there's been speculations of signing some free agent tackles, which we can speculate all we want, or we get a tackle in the draft. Whatever we do, we have to shore up both sides of the line, because our defensive line is very, very old. I hate to say this. I love Cam Hayward. I figured they might have traded him because they wanted to get him somewhere into the playoffs due to the fact that the Steelers were 2-6. But, they didn't do that. And he's going to retire a Steeler, I'm sure. But he's going to be 34 years old. We need to get him some help, and we don't have anybody.
Yeah.
Larry Obajobi's got, freight train, water pistol. Well, that's because it's Cleveland. You know how Cleveland is, freight train. It's terrible, terrible, terrible.
The biggest debacle in the NFL.
Yeah. So anyway, this funny note that I was talking to you before. Now, legendary quarterback Bernie Kosar. I never liked him when I was a kid. I don't like him.
Me neither.
Yeah, he's a broadcaster, and he got fired. Get this: the dumbass bet on the Cleveland Browns over the Steelers. It cost him his job. What a dumbass! That's so funny, though.
Wow,
that's typical Cleveland shit right there.
That is. Hey, you mentioned Minka. Just a little side note on that. Tied I believe it was a 4-way tie for most receptions in the NFL.
Yes. I don't know who the other players were, but Minka was like a ball hawk back there anyway. Sometimes though, he scares me when he puts his shoulder into people, and I'm like, don't separate your. Yeah, I'm not a fan of. Don't separate your shoulder, brother. Like I've seen some hits this week. Thomas Everett, I think I posted it on my Facebook, and he hit somebody and knocked them out fucking cold. Couldn't see that today in today's football. That'd be a penalty. But back then, the mid-90s, early 90s, man, that was some hard hitting shit. But let's get to some Steelers stats for 2022. Like, right. I could not believe this, but the Steelers total rushing. That's why Pat Meyer is my coach, Steeler 4-star coach of the year. They had a total rushing of 2,073 yards. That's pretty damn good, surprisingly, with the year that we had. But the sad part about it is this has got nothing to do with him. Well, maybe it does. I don't know. But we only had 29 touchdowns.
Yeah, weak in the red zone.
Very weak. We're so weak the Heinz ketchup bottle is turning to vinegar.
Kind of reminiscent, and I hate to say this, is kind of like a Mason Rudolph.
Whew.
Mason did good between the 20s and never wasn't very good at punching it in.
Well,
You
yeah.
you don't win with field goals. I mean, you pull ahead at the end with a field goal if you have to, but you win games with touchdowns. You know what I mean?
Yes, and our field goal, and I've been a huge Boswell lover in the Triple B Black and Gold Dynasty, player of the games for many years, the Boz, but his year was not as good, and a lot of people haven't been talking about that. But I know he was injured, okay?
Right.
And kicking in ASCII Score Stadium in Pittsburgh is not the easiest thing to do.
No.
He wasn't 100%. I know he got that big money, but he wasn't kicking the field goals the way he was the year prior. Our kicking game, especially with Harvin, I believe they got to get some competition as punter. He's been spotty at best, which is it sucks. I don't know if you ever have to draft a punter. I think you could probably. Well, he was a Ray Guy punter, and I think you could probably get somebody in free agency that has a booming leg, and people probably want to. We have to have coffin kicks. Give me 4.5 in the air and hang time, and get me coffin kicks and get me. But I know Boswell, back to Boz, he wasn't kicking. His kickoffs weren't strong. I believe he still wasn't healthy. Some of those misses in key games, that was not good. And
wasn't it a groin?
Yeah, and I'm sure groin, it doesn't, it's not like stretchable rubber band. It comes back in a couple weeks. It probably hurts. And you're a kicker, so you're using your legs. Yeah. So, and Matt Wright wasn't the answer. Maybe in the XFL, maybe The Rock could hire him or Heinz Ward could hire him or something. But that was the key of our kicking game. Our special teams was not as strong as in years they used to be. They haven't been in a couple of years. Boswell was great last year, though. I want to give him his due, and I believe just because he got injured, and I think he'll be back. But I don't know about Harvin. What's your take on Harvin as a punter for the Steelers?
Not impressed. I think they had experiments over.
Okay, well then we know we're good to go. So. Okay, well, like I said, Steelers player, and these are players that I put like players of the year that had like a big contribution. Quarterback, of course, Kenny Pickett. I know Mitch Trubisky came in and did whatever, saved the Tampa game, saved another game, but the Mitch experiment was not as good as I thought it would be. I thought he was going to be comeback player of the year. That is not the case.
I really did too, and we were pulling for him. We really were.
Yeah, I wasn't going in a negative. Oh my God, we got signed Trubisky. It's going to be the end of the world. No, I did not sign that. I think Geno Smith will come back player of the year because Geno had a great year. But in my job, I just watch Steeler football. I don't, I might talk a little bit about other teams a little bit, but honestly, I don't give and I've stated this before, and it gets me in a lot of trouble, JT. I don't give a flying F about any other team except this team right here. And they're like, oh, Bubba, maybe. No, I don't care. I care about this team, and I care what we do and how we do it. And that's all I care about. If you're a Steeler, that's like, if you leave the Steelers, see you later. If I don't like you, I'll take you off my wall. If you are a Steeler, I'll put you back on the wall. You know what I mean? But Kenny Pickett in 12 games, he passed for 2,004 yards passing. He had 7 touchdowns. Now he had a little high, 9 interceptions. He rushed for 233 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. So he had a total of 10 touchdowns his rookie year. I'm okay with that. He missed a lot of stuff on the field. He could have had probably in the teens.
He did. Yeah.
And Dante didn't help, not catching a couple that he could have caught. Poor Najee. Yeah. And Najee Harris had 272 carries, 1,034 yards, 7 touchdowns. He averaged 3.8 yards a carry. He had 41 receptions for 229 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he had a total of 10 touchdowns. So I'm okay with Najee. Jaylen Warren had 77 rushes, 379 yards, 1 touchdown, 28 receptions, 214 yards. Jaylen Warren almost had 600 yards total offense for the Steelers this year, and that's a good thing to grow on, I believe. That's a great 1-2 punch helping Najee, give him spell, and they can count on that. Like they couldn't count on Benny Snell or McFarland, which is sad, but that's just the way it goes. So, and they did sign like Master Teague is in the practice squad, and they signed a whole bunch of. I like Master Teague. I think TA does too. But they signed a whole bunch of players, and we'll see. And I mean, it's going to be a long year. They were signing players. They were signing practice players the whole season, like 5 here, drop 3, 4 here, drop 2.
It was
a
dynamic roster for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think they had to because they were getting hurt. They didn't know what the heck was
Right.
going on, So, and this guy here that everybody loves, this is the new man, George Pickens, 52 receptions, 801 yards, 15.4 average, 4 touchdowns. And I believe there's a stat where he was like number one over 70 attempts or 70 passes. He was like number one or tied for him in receivers. Like this guy, oh my God, if they would have used him more, definitely, I believe, and we talked off camera, he could have been the rookie of the year. He would have had, if he'd have had 10 touchdowns and had 1,200 yards, definitely would have been rookie of the year in my eyes.
Well, if we didn't have a starting quarterback, a rookie starting quarterback, and a offensive coordinator that kept he could have put his playbook on half of this piece of paper.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
The guy was kind of held back by, as a team effort, I guess. Nothing of his own doing.
Great. Some of the greatest catches we saw all season long.
Gosh. Maybe of all time.
Could
that
be,
one
yeah.
down the sideline. I don't know. That to me, that's one of the best catches I've ever seen. That's
the
right.
Odell Beckham comparison.
The Odell Beckham.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even the touchdown from Ben to
Santonio
Holmes. Yeah. Wow.
That's okay. We've had a long life.
but among the top, and he's just a rookie. He's just figuring out how to play.
Yep. We get him some help.
One where he adjusted his body and actually sat down in kind of like an L seat position.
Yeah.
That ball.
And then the one where he grabbed it like it was like a Spider-Man, like he caught it like this, like caught it with a like unreal. They just did not open enough. And I think that Atlanta game, he was fucked off. He was agitated because he was playing in front of his hometown people. He's still a young guy, but you know what? He's a hell of a blocker coming out, blocking for the running backs. He gets open. He catches 99.9% of the balls that are thrown to him. If he can catch it, it's caught. Like I said, he had 4 touchdowns. If he would have been like next year, you're going to see double this, I believe. Double this. You're going to see him and Kenny going to be a tandem that the AFC North don't want to see, but we'll see.
It's going to be a Burrows-Higgins type of connection there.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Now, this guy here, when I get to him, good old Dante Tweeter Johnson, 86 receptions. 86 receptions, had 182 yards, and once again, 0 touchdowns. He averaged 10.26 a catch. Now, that 86 receptions without a touchdown is a new NFL record. Did you know that?
Yes.
And it's not a good record to have.
Yeah.
Because I think James Water from the Tampa Bay Bucks had it at 84.
Receptions with no touchdowns.
Yes, and this is not something that I want to see coming out of Dante, who last year was a Pro Bowler, had 10 touchdowns, and he didn't even if I would have did FanDuel against Cleveland, I was going to bet that Dante got one touchdown in Cleveland, and I'm glad I didn't because it didn't happen.
We came this close.
Yeah, well, yeah, close is just terrible, terrible.
It's only good in hand grenades, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Hopefully, I don't know what's going on in his head. Receivers or divas, no matter what team they play for and wherever they play for, high school, college, or the pros. So, I mean, that's just what we got to get with when we have receivers. But we got to get some. We need a good slot. We need a good third receiver if they still have Dante. Dante still had 882 yards. But he's just got it. He's not a number one receiver. The number one receiver, I think, is George Pickens in my eyes.
Yeah, and I think we need that Hines Ward type slot receiver. You never really filled that role very well.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question.
Go ahead.
If the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl and this man is looking to sign somewhere, would you sign him back? Would you sign Juju back?
Juju?
Yes. He's going to probably want a lot of money, though, because he's had a good year at Kansas City.
Maybe. I would consider it.
Okay. Well, this is the off season, so we can discuss.
Yeah, we can throw that around there.
Yeah.
We can start as many rumors as we want, too. The one that I don't want back is Claypool, though.
No. Claypool's helped us out tremendously, though, going to Chicago, and Chicago's sucking because and we got the 17th round pick, but we also have the 32nd round pick. There's 32 teams in the NFL, so really that second round pick, due to Miami, whatever penalty they did, that to me that's like a first round pick. So we got two, so we can get whoever. A lot of people are saying Joey Porter Jr. I don't know. Hey, if you get him and you get the nose tackle, I looked at a guy from a big Hawaiian guy. Hey, you can't go wrong with Hawaiians. You can't go wrong with Samoans. Those guys are bloodthirsty and they beat people up, and that's what we need on either side of the line.
Yep.
So, and I don't know a lot, guys, on college prospects. Here we go. Oh, Freight Train. Don't forget Calvin Austin. Okay. I didn't forget him. Okay. Thank you, Freight Train. Hopefully he can be the slot job. And don't forget this name, Des Fitzpatrick. Yes, I believe we just signed him to practice squad. Yeah. Okay. We'll have to see. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about, Freight Train. I know you. Yeah. He gets very hyper. His stars weren't lined up though. I'm sorry. I've been listening to your guys' show, and the stars were lined up for him, and he thought like it was going to be, we were in, but you can't put it all on the Jets and Joe Flacco. It sucks. It's just terrible.
No better.
Terrible. So anyway, tight end Pat Freiermuth, 63 receptions, 702 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the last game against Cleveland, like I said, didn't have anything. So realistically, they need to get him a little bit more. He's a very viable part of this Steeler offense, and they need to feed him as much as they can. And I know he was hurt a couple times this year, but also to get him into the red zone. That's what we need him for, and that's what he should be. So,
all right, let's call this offense Intro to NFL Football.
Yeah.
101.
Yeah, because all these guys are young. These guys are all young. So the next 5 years, our Steeler offense should be spectacular. Everybody's young. Our offense is not old.
And that's a good thing. We've gotten younger.
Yeah.
I can remember it wasn't that long ago. We had a center who was ready to Marquise Pouncey, ready to retire, to Castro. I mean, right down the line, these guys are old, man. And it was starting to show,
Well, Cole and Daniels, that pickup in the offseason was great. Great pickups for the offseason.
I like them both.
I do too. Dobson can get a little better. I think he's got some tenacity. And like I said, I think the weak link on our offensive line right now is Dan Moore. Dan Moore could be a good second stringer or something like that. Like a lot of second string offensive line didn't get to play because the offensive line of Steelers, they played the whole season together.
Yeah.
Unheard of. So my hat's off to them. Yeah. A lot of guys who was trying to get some work didn't get any work in some real game situations because they couldn't break that lineup because they were all healthy. So never seen that in a long time, very long time. So let's get to some Steelers defensive leaders for the year real quick here. Miles Jack led the team with 104 tackles.
Good.
Did you like that? Did you like him as a player, as a Steeler player? Do you think
I really did? I did too. And somebody else who really played his ass off last couple games too was number 41, and he certainly took Devin Bush's place.
Do you think Bush will be gone?
Yeah.
Okay, I do too.
I think so too. I think.
Do you think they'll sign Spillane?
Not sure. Was he is he up for re-signing again?
Yes. Yeah, there's a whole list, but I don't have them. It'll probably be on my next show. But
yeah,
I'm talking to you, I figured they're going to need him and sign him to I seen his interview. He loves the Steeler organization. If they offer him, he probably would come back. But also too, if he gets a little bit more money somewhere else, it's all about the Benjamins after you think about it. So.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't mind seeing him back. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Right. And great stop and a run too this year. Oh.
And I'm glad Miles Jack led the team in tackles this year because you know who led it last year, and we talked about this at nauseum, which wasn't a good thing, and that was Fitzpatrick.
Well, he was very close. He had 96 tackles.
That's still, yeah, right. But it seemed like he got freed up a little bit to play the ball more, and it showed in his interceptions too.
Yeah, and he had 6 of them. So, and he also made the All-Pro team, and he's the Pro Bowler, and
That's right.
he's part of the high impact Steeler defense, high priced. You know, and he did what he had to do this year. He had a great year, and yeah. So I mean, and also now this guy here, which fucks me off because the Pro Bowl is all about popularity, was Alex Highsmith. He had 63 tackles and he led the team in sacks with 14.5.
Yep.
And
Yep.
most of the season he was leading the league in sacks, and he didn't
Correct.
get any. He didn't even get the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
So I don't
That's kinda
know
weak.
if, well, in the off season, would that make him me spiteful or whatever? Because his contract, I believe, is up too. So will he go where the money goes? But also too, that's not his. It's not the Steelers' fault that he didn't get into the Pro Bowl. They gave him
Right.
opportunity to be the team leader that he was, getting them 10, getting them almost 15 sacks, having his best year, without T.J. Watt helping him out. But also too, when T.J. Watt wasn't there, he wasn't as dynamic as he was when TJ's there too.
Sure. Do you remember another player when TJ was there on the other side? That kind of made a gazillion dollars from playing on the opposite side.
Right. Now he's bagging groceries at Bilo or something
with the Titans. Yeah. He's not even on the team. That's crazy.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
So anyway, now let's get to some notable defensive players. Now, Mr. Steeler himself, Cam Hayward, second season, double digits in sacks. He had 74 tackles and he had 10 and a half sacks this year. And that Raiders game, like, be the best, like one of the best games I've ever seen him play on TV, because I seen him live too a couple times. But he was a man possessed, playing for the honor of Franco, like I've never seen anybody play. Yeah, that game was I was fucking getting emotional at the end of that game, because to me it was just, I mean, it was an emotional week for everybody being a Steeler fan anyway. So, but he did what he said he was going to do. He didn't say anything. He just did it. Let's put it that way. He just did it. Right. Brought the flag out, and that said everything, and that set the tempo of how he was going to play. And he played great against Cleveland. Like I said, a defensive lineman getting over 10 sacks is great, and his age at 33, going to be 34. Give him time, a little bit of time to heal. Go to a spa, Cam. Take it easy for a couple months, and then get right back into it. And he got to play with his brother too, so that was cool.
Right, very cool.
I think the Steelers is the only team where if you're a brother and your brother plays, you're gonna play. I see something. I see something in the wall where, as crazy as it sounds, and a lot of speculation, that I know JJ, he's retiring from the Cardinals, but if the brothers can pull him out, and give him a little bit of money, I don't know. Those jersey sales would be huge. I know yours truly would be buying one, but
what about the Edmonds brother?
There's talk about that too, but I think they got to get to where they got to go in their journey with Buffalo and see where they go. If they win a Super Bowl championship, maybe I'd love to play with my brother. That could happen, but it's going to be a costly penny to bring him to Pittsburgh.
That's true. That's
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Terrell Edmonds, 70 tackles, 2.5 sacks. Great. He had a great year. I think they're going to, he's looking to get signed. Hopefully Pittsburgh, signs his contract. Now, these guys here, Cam Sutton had 43 tackles, 3 interceptions, 15 pass defended. Levi Wallace, coming from Buffalo, 48 tackles, 4 INTs, and 13 passes defended. Hopefully, both those guys still stay with Pittsburgh, because that secondary, we still need a shutdown corner. And if they get Joey Porter Jr. or whoever, they can still get these guys, because, KZ had good when he came back. That dynamic in that secondary they were ball hawks. They led the NFL, or tied with 20 interceptions. And where could you go? You can go up from where we're at. Our defense is I'm not bitching about that. Some of the run defense in the first part of the season, but now we're okay. We stopped some major runners.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of that was just that they just got worn out. They spent too much time on the field, just got worn out.
Yeah.
End of games. Breakdowns in gap integrity. Mm-hmm. I think you saw the last 2 games what the adjustment was, and that was to get Devin Bush the hell out of there.
Yeah. So, you could tell that it was writing on the wall, dude. If you don't know, Now you know, brother, you're not getting signed back to Pittsburgh, and
Yeah.
your dad can call the fan and bitch all he wants. It doesn't matter. You're not as good, and
Yep.
that sucks because I thought with that
Healthy
pick,
scratch.
he was going to be something. I think we took the Tampa Bay got the other linebacker, and we did not.
The other
So,
Devin. Mhm.
yep, we messed up, and I don't know. It was worth a shot. We rolled snake eyes on this one. We'll have to build. We'll have to get a middle linebacker through the draft. Robinson could be something. They played him the last couple games, get
Right.
him more experience. I think he could be a factor. Definitely maybe a little better. He's got to do a little bit more covering, though. He's not real good at covering the receivers
Sure.
coming out of backfield,
Sure.
but that takes time.
Well,
But
Bill
also,
Hillgrove had a lot to say, a lot of good things to say about him.
well, he would know.
Season opener. Yeah.
Yeah, Bill would know. He's there all the time.
Yep. Yep. So we was excited to see him get some action in.
Yeah, I was too, because they weren't letting him suit up. So that's good that Devin Bush wasn't coming along. They suited him up and put him in some games, put him in some key games. Those last two games of the season were key games. A lot of run stoppage. You know what I mean? He almost had a sack. Watson got through him like through a snake, and I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, I think that one play though, he was actually his assignment was I think it was to cover the running back.
Yeah,
saw a gap. Yeah. He shot that gap to try to get a sack, and eluded him. And I don't know if he completed the pass or what, but I think he ended up throwing a screen to the guy he was supposed to be covering.
Yeah. Now this guy here, he did it. He did his stuff in 10 games. This guy here, when I thought he tore his bicep, TJ Watt, I was like, holy fuck, we're in trouble. And we were in trouble. He had 39. He ended up with 39 tackles, 5.5 sacks. But his presence on the football field for the Steelers coming back from injury is something momentous, and something that I thought I only saw with Rod Woodson coming back. This was whatever he did to get himself ready to get back into the talk about a gutty performance, wanted to be there for the guys and put his body on the line because he didn't care. He just wanted to go back and play football, and his presence on that field, apples and oranges. Like, Pittsburgh is another team with him on the field, and yeah, I mean, he's Mr. Steeler right now, and God bless him for that.
He really is too. But I think, and I think this topic was brought up one of the Pittsburgh sports talk shows, that, at his age and his intensity, we can't expect him to be there for 17 games. We can't expect him to be there for 4 quarters of each game.
No,
really. We've got to have that breather for him, and we have to have that guy that we can plug in and know that we're not going to miss much of a beat.
Right, and that's what we need. We need somebody to give him a breather, but Malik Reed was not the man. Probably will not be a Steeler next year, but I could be wrong. But also, too, maybe he needs to take some off season and maybe do like DDP yoga or do something to get his body into a different type of training regimen. Not maybe doing a lifting or something, and keeping himself explosive enough without hurting himself being explosive when he comes off the ball. That's probably, I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a statue of great health right now, but when you're coming off the ball like that, and he's going to 100 million miles an hour, and it's easy to tweak something. And they're trying to wrap him. They're holding him. I mean, they were holding him all day Sunday against Cleveland. And they didn't call anything. The referees suck, and then they have, Cam Hayward play was ridiculous. So, I mean, I don't know what it takes to be a ref,
That was the same play that happened to Kenny Pickett that sent him out of the game with a concussion. Actually, less egregious than that, because all he did was he just brought him down. He didn't slam him down, and he didn't slam his head.
Crazy.
That was crap. Actually, two weeks in a row, crap penalties called on him. The one penalty, it was a personal foul or whatever, unsportsmanlike. He was just trying to get up off the pile, and it looked like he was pushing.
Right. Well, I see a meme where the Redskins receiver was getting set, and he asked and looked at a referee and said, "Hey, am I set?" And the referee said, "Yeah." Asked him twice and said he was good. As soon as they hiked the ball, he flew a flag, and he looked at the ref and he goes, "I just asked you if I was set. You told me I was." So I don't know what. Sometimes these refs just don't. I don't know what the hell they're thinking, But they have too much money on the line, to do that. But anyway, let's get to the Triple B player of the game. Let me hear your players and who you think would be the player of the game against the Cleveland Browns.
Well, let me preface my guess by just saying that if you would have taken this person out, we probably wouldn't have won the game, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to avoid the obvious one, but I'm going to go with Najee Harris on that one. Just a powerful running. They knew it was coming. They couldn't stop him. Every time he pressing, 2-3 more steps, falling forward, gaining that extra 2 or 3 yards every time. I think he made the difference in this game.
Okay, I like that, and that's great. I'm going to go defensively. I'm going to go with Cam Hayward with the 2 sacks, stopping Chubb's not getting 100 yards. The defensive linemen all did their part, and Cam, like I said the week before, was playing lights out. So he got called for that penalty, he was shaking his head, which actually gave them a touchdown, which wouldn't have gave him a touchdown anyway. I don't agree with that, but that's what happens. But yeah, just the way he played and stopping the run and still playing with hustle and tenacity as Cam does, and trying to will his defensive lineman cohorts to stop the run. And the way he played, I'm taking Cam for my Triple B player of the game.
I think so too. I agree with that one. And really, I mean, you could make argument for quite a few of those too, including Kenny Pickett, George Pickens, key catches.
Oh my God, everybody, McMinka, Levi Wallace,
KZ,
KZ, Derek Watts with a touchdown. So I mean, everybody contributed. Everybody played to try to get him into the playoffs. It was a great victory. It didn't get us into the playoffs, but it did give Mike Tomlin a 9-8, a winning season for his 16th consecutive season.
Yeah.
It didn't end on a sour. I mean, the only sour was the Jets. It didn't end sourly, with the win. Everybody in Pittsburgh was tuned to the TV or tuned on the field to try to see the Steelers win. So
sure. And let's be honest here, had we made the playoffs anyhow, we're going to go very far.
Right.
Seeing is that we would have probably.
I just wanted experience for the younger guys. That's all, and Kenny. That's all I want. And it would have been if we would have played, we'd have been playing the Buffalo Bills, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully this time Allen wouldn't throw a 98-yard touchdown. Our defense would tighten them up a little bit because the Buffalo Bills' run attack is not that good. So it would have been a different game, I believe. And we have beaten the Buffalo Bills up there with Ben and
we have
some of the same players that we have.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, we're never going to know. And the thing is, though, next year we have to do our own destiny and not worry about everybody else. And I've seen a lot of New England's coming to Pittsburgh again. We have to beat the AFC East. We beat the East, and we beat the we take care of our own division. Sky's the limit. I mean, I have high aspirations for this off season. I mean, I'm going to deal with Matt Canada being our offensive coordinator. I'll be okay. There's nothing I can do about that. So it makes great for good podcasting shows. And I'll just deal with it. I think Terrell Austin did a good job. He wasn't a high pick for me being a defensive coordinator, but he come along with the help of Brian Flores. But also too, we have some great defensive players, but we're getting a little bit thin in some areas. And we need to fix that in the off season on both offensive. We need a tackle, we need a tackle, offensive tackle, and we need some defensive tackles. We need a nose tackle. That is my greatest thing that I truly, truly want. Somebody that was who am I thinking? Joe Steed, Casey Hampton. That's what we need. Casey Hampton type. Yeah.
Hargrave.
So, well, I got the Steelers Realm podcast up. So why don't you give a little shout out of that? Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, you can catch us. Everything's all on one site, SteelersRealm.com, as you can see right there too. All our social media links are up at the top there for Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn too as well. But when we will put our video each week's latest video will be right there on the front page, and then the last 5 podcast episodes there, as well as our total archives, are available right from SteelersRealm.com. So thanks for the plug. Stop by there. You can even register to sign up for it. Sign up for an email. Sign up on our email list, and we'll make sure to give you ahead of time guests that are coming up. And
yeah, you guys get some great guests.
we try. We try.
You guys do a hell of a job.
Yeah, we had Shelby Cassesi on.
I know, that was good. I heard that. I always
Fantastic.
listen to your guys' show when I'm working out. I do, because it's Steeler talk. Plus, it's you know, I mean, I like listening to other Steeler pod. Well, yours is really the only one I really listen to.
Well, we got somebody else coming up too, but we almost were able to join up with him today, Bubba. But Joshua from It's Football Not Football podcast,
right,
in the
I've been on
UK.
him. I listen to him a couple times. I jump on, but it is time. The time from the U.S. to Great Britain is very time consuming.
Yeah,
so
5 hours ahead of time. So it's tough to get him on, but I think we're going to shoot for next week. So tune in to get his take on things as a Steeler fan living in the UK. His dad's also a Green Bay Packers fan. Ooh. So it'll be interesting to get his dad's take on Green Bay season as well too. But yeah, man, thanks for the plug. SteelersRealm.com. You can catch us there.
Thank you.
And
I enjoy listening to your show. We do our mega cast. Everybody that's listening, we do a mega cast sometimes throughout the year. We've done a couple of them, and I'm sure we'll do a big one here talking about the draft. I'm sure, JT will get a hold of me, and we always do stuff, and we always co-promote and do whatever, because we actually live in the same town. So, I mean, that's the cool part. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of crazy that in the metropolitan Indiana County area, there's 2 Steeler podcasts. I'm sure, and I don't know if there's any more. I think 2's enough. 2's all we need.
There's a couple other podcasts, but they're not Steelers.
Yeah, there's not Steelers. And I try to listen to a lot of other people's stuff, and I do listen to other Steeler podcasting. I watch them on YouTube.
Right.
And there's a lot of information that I get, but you guys bust your ass doing what you guys do, because it's hard keeping everybody in the loop and getting everybody into the sound studio to do this stuff. And I know it's hard, because it comes even from when I do it with Mav and Cable. It's hard sometimes. So I was doing I do the Steeler stuff on my own, and if I can get guests, I love the thrill of it, because when we get guests, it goes a little longer, because it's just not me talking for 25 to 30 minutes.
Well, and it's great to get everybody, a second point of view, a different point of view on things. And
yeah, not everything's all mine. I mean, it's all black and gold, but I have the ups and downs, and usually, and I know we did the Saturday afternoon show. Usually, when I do it Wednesday or Fridays, my Facebook, and I understand it's the weekend and people are busy, but I do appreciate Brian Yeager for jumping on, and Freight Train on the on the certain sites that we got, that I can see the comments. But also too, during the week, I know I get bombarded with Steeler comments, and I do appreciate that. So, and we're going to get ready to, I'm going to do my show once a week, the Black and Gold Triple B Black and Gold Dynasty show once a week. And I'm looking back, still do Wednesdays, and I'll keep doing that with my other shows that I do, because I'm trying to be multi-talented and multifaceted on stuff I do. I just keep trucking along. You know what I mean,
That's
JT?
all you can do, man.
Along. Yeah,
that's it.
So I appreciate you coming on, brother. Anytime you can come on. I know we talked about it last night. I know yours got delayed, and then I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, hey, well, come on mine. I mean, that's just how it goes.
Appreciate it, man.
Oh,
hey, this reminder too. Let's not forget. Freight Train, take a number, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're just teasing. But hey, don't forget too, we kind of co-own a Facebook group that's Steelers Nation number 724, representing the 724 area code of Western PA. So make sure to stop by there. Check in.
Yeah, I am an administrator on that. Yes, I am. I need to plug that on my stuff too. I always forget. I don't know why. I always forget, and I always comment on stuff there too. But sometimes I get overwhelmed with a lot of Steeler groups on commenting stuff, and especially when it turns a terrible tide if you.
So do we. There's a lot of them out there, but we're getting some exposure there too. So stop by Steelers Nation with an S, Steelers Nation, number 724. Don't forget that hashtag on it. You can find us on Facebook too. So yeah, man, appreciate it. Steeler Nation, have a great weekend. Good to be with you, Bubba. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Careful in the hot tub out there, guys.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you, JT. Like I said, listen to Steelers Round Podcast, one of the coolest Steelers shows on podcasting that they talk about the Steelers. And they're diehards just the same as me. And it's always a pleasure when one of the boys jump on. And I've known JT for many, many years. So it's always a pleasure. And I appreciate it, JT, for giving me a hand for the end of the Steelers this year. 9-8. I'm okay with it. Wish we could have done a little better, but hey, it is what it is. We're getting ready for the off season. So I'll let you know we do a mega cast, and I know me and you together with our teams, nothing stops us. So I appreciate your coming in on a Saturday afternoon. I was off today, thank God. So, but anyway, hey, thanks everybody. I'll hit the replay. Everybody will be on all social medias that the Triple B Experience is on. But also listen to Steelers Round Podcast. Give them a check. Give them a shout out. Listen to their show. They bring on some great Steeler legends and Steeler guests and Steeler fans. It's a great show. I appreciate it. I've been on it a couple times. It's always good stuff. And I appreciate you, JT. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Thanks for being here. Okay, brother. Over and out. See you guys. Till next time. Later.